Uh-oh. And we are live. What up, what up, what's up, everybody? This is a special show. We got a special guest. Thanks for tuning in from all across the world, Poland, United States, internationally. This is E Hoops Performance. My name is Coach E. I'm your host. And we are Hold on. What up, what up? There we go. Technical difficulties. It's tough doing this on your own. I have my former teammate, my homie, Daria Mieloszynska on the air. Coach, what's up?
What's up? How are you? Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How you doing?
Wonderful. Everybody healthy? This is the crazy world we live in right now.
Say it again.
This is the crazy world we live in right now. So how everybody?
Awesome. So yeah, on eHoops, I like to share mostly about women's basketball, share the different experiences of recruiting basketball and how women get to professional basketball overseas, and also talk about how to continue a career in athletics or anything else. So we have a lot of parents watching, a lot of student athletes, and other coaches in basketball, and maybe some different aspects of the basketball industry, agents and things like that. I just want to make sure I get my teammates' story out there. I'm so proud of you. So I'm going to stop talking, but let's introduce yourself a little bit. Like I said, UT former athlete, number 51. So Hook'em. She's played Hook'em. She has played internationally on different teams in different countries all across the world. She's also competed with the Polish women's national team, right, for a long time. And now, currently, she is the head coach of a men's basketball team in Poland. And we're going to get into that and hear more about her team. She's also, if I'm correct, the first female head coach for a men's team. So that is awesome. And we're going to talk a lot about that, but I want to make sure everybody knows who you are. All right, D?
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and jump in.
So, anything add? What can I add to it? So, 37 years old. I was afraid about that question, but it's official now. From Poznań, Poland. Currently, I'm the head coach, like you say, of the men's team. Very proud of that. Former UT athlete. The story of every Joe, basically coming from Poland and making my dream come true to play in for UT. But before that, I went to ICC, Illinois Central College in Peoria, Illinois, where I got my scholarship and transfer to University of Texas to continue my career, basically. Awesome. And after that, came back to country. Would I really want to represent my country on a Polish national team? I was very excited about that and continue my career there. I play in Poland, I play in France, I play in Spain. The best time of my life, basically.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So, and I even wonder this. I want you to share a story about your childhood basketball. Like, did you play any other sports, and like, how did you get into basketball growing up?
The difference between USA and European in Europe is that we don't play many sports. We play sports only in physical education classes, basically. But we are not exposed to many sports outside. Okay, so whatever you get in PT classes, that's what you get. And I basically didn't want to play basketball. I want to play any other sports. There was not related to basketball. I really want to play soccer. I really want to compete with the guys. Actually, I want to play any sports that was so I could compete with the guys. Because to me they were very competitive. And I love the competition. So I was playing soccer with my brother a lot in the play yard. But basically we basically I didn't want to play basketball. And one day my PT teacher asked me to go to another school for the tryout. And that's how it started. And as far as I remember, the first practice, I don't remember that I dribbled the ball. I think I got the ball and I ran with it. So the beginning was really, really tough for me. And just because I was forced to play basketball in the beginning, and after a while I realized I really liked the sport. I mean, in the beginning, I'm sure I get a lot of laughs, you know, up in the gym and not being able to even dribble. But as I progress, I really continue loving the sports, and I think I got a good good coaches in the beginning who like encouraged me to play sports. So that was pretty much. And in Poland it's a little bit different than in the States. We play so many sports, and I think that's better because you're on the end of the day you're more athletic just by being exposed to different sports. But if we go to the clubs, we have clubs, what is called outside of the school, and when we go to the clubs, basically athletes are already thinking about going pro in the future. So when you go to the club, you're already determined to play in such a sport. And because I didn't have a lot of choice, there was not a lot of sports available in my area. I decided to play basketball just to be kind of forced by my PT teacher, and I'm glad that she did that.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about the difference, right? So there's no high school sports, there's club sports.
I mean, we compete in high school. We compete in high schools, but it's not on the same level. It's like you play in a club and then you represent the school, because you are obviously, when you're in a club, you the principal already takes you on a high school team just so you can represent the schools, but the competition is not really high on a high level. But when you play in a club, the competition is high, and again, everybody thinking they're gonna go pro.
Okay, awesome. So one question is, how was it for you as a younger player to play on that pro level team, and to be, how was your experience with that, playing with maybe top level players, maybe even some national players? I'm not sure who was on the team, but how was that for you, just getting into basketball? How did that go for you?
I mean, it was a tough lesson for me. I mean, like I said, everybody who goes to a club, it doesn't matter like what age are you, everybody's thinking they're gonna go pro. And then suddenly you realize that when you start with 30 kids in your area, and you look around after maybe 6 months, you're the only one in the club. So determine how tough the business is, you know, how everybody wants to play basketball. And maybe not now, because I mean, basketball is not yet that popular in Poland. I mean, soccer is the #1 sport, but at that time in my area, everyone my friend. I mean, if they find out that I'm going to the practice, they want to participate in a club too. But it is extremely difficult just to manage even the school with the practicing, because club are not related to the schools, so they are not adjusting our schedule to our practices. So coach in a club, coach expect from you to be in the practice, but in school, of course, you have to go to the school and classes, and there's no excuses for you missing any classes, and there's no collaboration in between. And that's the very difficult schedule and to manage. And I think that was the most difficult, more than competing with the athletes, just to manage those two words.
Okay. Okay. So I know many people know that here for high school players, AAU is that circuit or type of league that they get recruited a lot more in than high school. So what was your recruitment experience and process being overseas on a pro team to get to the States and get to college here?
I mean, I went to the wonderful high school I had a very good principal who was able to connect us to the teams in the States. And when we were 16, we went to the tournaments in the States. And at that time, we didn't know that anybody was looking at us, that the tournaments were watched by the recruiters. And we just didn't know. We just played basketball. We didn't know that even such a thing like recruiting process exists. So when I come back to the country, I got the offers. But at that time, I was still very young, and my mom demand for me to finish high school first before I go pro.
Mom knows best.
Mom knows best. So education was first, and she said she said to me, "You graduate high school, and then you're gonna decide." And I want to go right away. I want to go to the States before even graduating high school, and that wasn't a part of agreement with her. She said, "You graduate, then you're gonna decide." So I got a lot of offer from the schools, but at that time I didn't know anything about the schools recruiting process, how it's gonna look, how they're gonna take care of me over there. I mean, even the process of getting the papers and trying to translate everything was very, very difficult, especially as far as like insurance, who's gonna take care of me, who's gonna pay for my education. I mean, my dad was extremely concerned about that fact. And on the beginning, he say, even if you graduate, you're not gonna go to the States.
What?
So there was a big disagreement between like mom's plan, like our agreement, and my dad, who right away say, "You're not gonna go to the States because I'm not safe. This is not safe place. It's not Europe. It's not that if something's gonna go wrong, we are able to pick you up. This is the state. This is the other part of the world." But I graduated. And I think it was I almost didn't go actually to the States, because at the same time when I graduated, I got the offer to sign the contract for 5 years, already go to pro.
Oh wow. Okay.
So and then I came to my mom and I said, I don't know what I should do, and I said, what if I sign the contract in pro right away? And she said, but I want to go to the university because education is important to me too. She say right away, if you're gonna go to pro, I give you 6 months and then you're gonna drop out the school. And I said, so what should I do? And she said, what was our agreement? That's how I decided to go to the state when that was still said no.
Okay.
Still said no. And I think a lot of people around the way like helped me in the recruiting process with the translation of the paper. And I think Lorraine Ramsey from ICC contacted me first, the Hall of Fame, amazing coach. And she talked to me, and she was trying to talk to my parents who were not able to speak English. So that was very difficult. And I actually understand the parents who are very terrified, not understanding anything about recruiting process, anything about this other part of the world, how difficult it is when you don't have a translator next to you.
Yep.
And then you're trying to send your child on another part of the world, how terrifying this is. And that was terrifying for my dad. That was the one thing. And the other thing that he was also we are very close to each other. So he was he would always come to my games. I think he didn't want to lose that part. Because he knew that he were not able to come to the games. So I think that was difficult.
Yeah.
But we had a many conversation with Coach Ramsey, and in many fights at home between my dad, mom, and me. So and finally, I was so tired of it that I said no. Okay, I'm not going to the States. And I think from when I talked to Lorraine Ramsey, Coach Lorraine Ramsey, she said that she make a last. She called me and I told her about my decision. And she said, okay, I'm so sorry that you cannot able to go. And I know that this is related to your dad's opinion and the fight that goes in the house about you going overseas. And I think she makes the last call. That's what she told me. She was like, maybe I should try another time. And then when I say yes.
So she did. She called again.
She called again. And I said, finally, my dad said yes, but he was like, he had tears in the eyes and he was terrified.
Big teddy bear. Huh?
Like, he couldn't even drop me off at the airport. Like, that's how like traumatized it was. Like, for 6 months, he wasn't talking to me when I was in the States. He couldn't hold the phone. He was like, I was like, why this is so difficult? Like, he was making it so difficult. But I understand that from the perspective how scary he was to send me over there.
Yeah, awesome. So you go to ICC, right, in Peoria, Illinois.
Yes.
And you were there for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then how was that? How was that? And then we'll talk about getting to UT.
Okay, so it was a shock culture for me for many reasons. Just the fact that I basically had few months to learn language. I right away had to start classes, which is scary because you're dealing with different things. Like, you're dealing with the shock culture, you're dealing with the fact that you're far away from home. You start living. I was lucky enough to live with a host family, and they helped me with the process, transformation, I should say, or they helped me a lot to understand the culture. So it's a lot to deal with, and then on the top of everything, you have classes that you have to start. And I remember one of the funniest things about like entering the classes is like how my language was not bad, but like I thought I can understand some things until I went to the class. I remember that one of the like even on the beginning, like Coach Ramsey was like saying to me, your English is perfect, like you're gonna do fine. And I look at the list of her classes, and one of the classes is speech, and I'm like, really? Yes, and I didn't even understand what the speech means, and I was like, and then I translated. I was like, speech? What is this? Like, so I went to her office, like I rushed to her office. I was like, okay, my English is okay, but like speech, like what is that? So I have to stand in the front of everybody and like speak like a president. And she said, yes, and you're gonna do fine. And I'm like, okay. So a lot of struggles. I'm going to the classes, people are talking to me, they have different accents.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're saying to me. So that was very difficult. The second thing was that at that time, I mean, not a lot of people know, but at that time we were playing the men's ball in Europe.
Okay. So
and you play with a smaller and lighter ball. So when I entered the gym, like everybody knew I'm a shooter. And right away I'm like shooting like next to the hoop because the ball is too light, and people are looking at me like, oh my God,
that's our shooter.
I mean,
it was going over, huh?
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, like really? Like even the ball, like why one of like out of all these things, like even the ball was the big factor, like really? Okay, so yeah, I think they will look at me strange, but I think I spent a lot of time in the gym just to adjust to even that fact, I spent a lot of time, and I really like the experience. I mean, I have a very competitive teammates, and I was competitive too, because I came with the attitude that just few months ago I supposed to sign that pro contract.
Right.
So I'm here for the business. I'm here for the business. So, which was very surprising, because when I arrived, I was super skinny. I was super skinny, and nobody even understood how can I play basketball. I mean, she's just a tall white chick from Poland who can't shoot because she's missing even the rim due to the fact that I was practicing with different ball. But yes, that was a huge adjustment, and the culture shock of like all around the food. I mean, one of the funniest story about the culture shock was when I took the beer to the school.
What?
Yes, Because listen to this.
Yeah.
My host mom, like every morning, she asked me to prepare a lunch. Okay. A lot of things that you have, like with your food, is like packed, like it's like you have in cans. Like we don't have that. Like everything, like, you know,
produce, natural.
Yes. So she say, okay, so grab something to drink, grab some food. And I was like, okay. So I recognize the bread. Okay, we have the bread in Poland too. I recognize, okay.
We got bread too.
Right? Chips, not so much. Like, why have to take chips to eat the sandwich? Okay, so I make the sandwich and suddenly I look at the cans. Okay, I don't drink Coke. I don't drink soda. And I look at the can and I see the mountain on it. I was like, okay, so in Poland, the mountain is related to natural water. So I took the can.
Oh.
Walking at 12 in the college. There's like, the cafeteria is packed. Open it. I sit down. I didn't know that they're like, everybody was staring at me, but I was like all natural, trying to act like, okay, I got this.
It's water. What you talking about?
It's water, right? So I grabbed the sandwich. I'm eating. I pull in the beer. Like, I was like, oh, that's soda. Okay. And I suddenly like seen my teammate like running across the cafeteria, like slow mo, like
no.
Like, and I'm like looking at her, and I was like, oh my gosh, did I like offend somebody? Like, did I say it like in a popular, I don't know, table, or like it's the stable book?
Oh my God.
I don't know. She grabbed the, later I find out there was a beer. She grabbed the can, she threw it to the garbage. I'm like, oh my gosh, you want to lose the scholarship? Like, when coach runs, he's gonna fight. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then she explained it to me.
So you thought it was water in a can, boy.
I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. You have it like water in a can. I was like, okay, that's USA.
That is amazing. D.
Yeah, the struggle. The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. That's awesome. I love that story. My goodness. Okay, so you're there for 2 years, and then what is it, sophomore year, and then we're moving towards UT.
Yes, because I had to be there. UT have a very high restrictions, so I had to pass a lot of exams before I transferred. So that's the ICC time, was to get my academics ready for UT.
Okay. So let's take us through I guess the recruiting, but the process to get to UT, your time at UT, and then we'll get into some pro, and then we'll get into your team.
Okay.
Because we want to hear about the guys. Want to hear about your team and your experience this year.
Okay. Again, I was just playing ball. I didn't realize that so many people like are even interesting to recruiting. Again, I didn't know how aggressive the recruiters can be. And I didn't know that I get so many letters. I think at that time you were not able to talk to the athletes.
Yeah, not as much as now, texting and all that.
No, but I think there was like a lot of restriction that I didn't know about, because first of all, I didn't know how aggressive they were. But I really realized there was something wrong about it when one lady was following me to the toilet after game and was trying to talk to me while I was like, okay, this is something wrong. So I went to the coach and I was like, Coach, is that normal? Like, people asking me. She was showing me a catalog in the title of the school.
A catalog under the, oh my goodness. You got to be creative back then if you were recruiting.
I know, right? I was like, okay,
concession stand, bathroom.
Okay, yes, like, okay, if you don't wait until I wash my hands and you show me the catalog, I was like, okay, there's something wrong. I need to go to consult with the coach.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
So this is what I did. I find out how like aggressive the recruiting process might be. But yes, but I agree with coach. She was really cool, and she said she was like, "Dee, just focus on basketball right now. I'm gonna hold all the email that you're getting, all the mail that you're getting, all like I'm gonna stop. Then on the end of the season, we're gonna sit down. We're gonna open the all the envelopes. We're gonna read it all, and then we're gonna. I will help you to decide it.
Okay.
And I think when I was like, even for the foreign player, it's very difficult to even decide the school because you already grown up in the environment when you already know which school is good. For me, when I got the offer from Texas, it didn't mean anything to me at the beginning. So I had to learn about Texas. I had to learn about UConn. I had to learn about those big schools, you know.
Right.
I had to learn about those coaches. So I watch a lot of NCAA tournaments. I was following who is on the top. I had to get a lot of information from other coaches about other coaches. So it was more difficult and very hectic time for me. So I'm glad that Lorraine Ramsey decided that we're going to do it in the end, and I'm going to focus on the basketball right now. So this is like...
That was great.
That was really great. That was very helpful.
Yeah.
And basically, I had a great coach, Carrie, at the time, who helped me to, who knew Karen Aston at Austin, at University of Texas, and she said, "You need to look at that kid." She made a huge progress. She came from Poland. So she basically came to watch the game on the end of the season. When it was really close to finishing the school.
Yeah.
We sat down with Lorraine Ramsey. We opened the envelopes, like she said, and basically we decided to go. And the process, but went only to, I think, 2 schools. And after second visit, I didn't use all my visits. I think after second visit, I decided I want to be a part of the UT family.
Awesome. I'm so glad you chose UT.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because you were there when I got there and we had so much fun.
I know. That was super fun.
Awesome. So Coach Karen Aston was kind of your first contact as far as a coach that was connecting with you and came to see games.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And then when and that's the other I was ready, culturally ready, but still make mistakes on understanding. Texas was a different part of the world again. I find out.
Right.
I remember when I called when Jody Conrad called me and she said, "Are you on a cloud 9?" And I was like, it was a silence. I was like, what? And then I need a translator. Like, "Are you cloud 9?" And then I was like silent. And then I realized I was rude because that means, "Are you excited that you signed for Texas?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm excited." I find out that I will have to learn a lot of new things in Texas too. But
awesome.
I was happy that I joined the UT.
Okay. So just for the athletes out there and young athletes, how tall are you and what's your position? What's your position that you call yourself?
6'3" shooting guard.
6'3" shooting guard.
Yep.
And long. I'm talking about shoot over you, block your shot. You'd be like, what? Didn't you just come from the 3-point line? Wait a minute. You know.
I'm a sniper.
Sniper. Don't sleep on it. And hard working, like not only a shooter and a scorer, but I remember you just working hard all the time, rebounder, more a utility player, but can also knock it down from the 3. I'm talking about deep 3 too. Rebounding, getting on the floor, loose ball. All of that grind and stuff that nobody really likes to do, you did that, as well as giving value in form of points, rebounding, all that stuff. So physical. Just because you skinny, shoot, boy,
like come on. When I came back the first year, like I look like I ate the first version of myself. Like seriously, I gained so much weight the first year because I was introduced to the new food. That's the that's the other thing. I was introduced to nachos. I was introduced to burgers. Introduced to steaks. I was like, I think one time in my I like Texas food so much that one time I went to the restaurant and I think the waiters tell me like, oh my gosh, it's probably cheaper to like put the clothes on you than feed you. I was like, oh my gosh, that. Yes, I remember that because I had like even at that time, like you say, I was skinny, but at Texas I wasn't skinny anymore because I remember that I went over 23% of body fat, and I think I had extra practice for that. You remember?
No, but I believe it.
I was tearing up those steaks.
Tearing up those steaks. Well, we got fed really well, so I don't know.
I know.
Whose fault is it?
Because I know. I don't understand. I still upset about that. They want me to work extra hard just because like they forced me to eat those steaks. Like I still want to like, explain that situation.
If you put a Ruth Chris steak and a cheesecake in front of me, like what you want me to do?
Oh my gosh! And the size of the steak. And when you say everything is big in Texas, you know what I mean. When you get the steaks in the front of you, you know what I mean. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I gained a lot of weight.
Yeah, I got you. So that's junior year. Was there what was your hardest the hardest thing about going from ICC to Texas? Because now you're getting into your junior and senior year. What sticks out to you positively and negative, like something you had to work on and then like something that you overcame?
Right.
Great.
That first season I thought actually I was training track and field rather than basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was running so much.
Yeah.
Like I was running so much to the point where like I thought I will never touch basketball.
Were we in trouble? Did the freshman class do it? Sorry.
Yes, but
that's my class.
I mean, you have to remember that when I was coming, like we had Heather Schreiber, we had Nina Norman.
Right.
I mean, the class of the seniors,
right?
You know, very good seniors athletes.
Stacey
so
Stevens, Tiff Jackson, yeah,
exactly. So it was very, very difficult, and I mean, you have to, I guess, go through that. I mean, everybody goes through that, and I think they kind of like test your character.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually believe that for the first 6 months I was training track and field.
Mm-hmm.
I was almost like thinking that I got the scholarship for track and field rather than basketball because I was just running. Mm-hmm. I remember one practice when I think I told you that. I think we were running every time. I mean, you remember there were practice guys coming to the practice, and I think 5-on-5. And coach got upset about the rest of the team. I mean, the new ones, the newcomers, and the rest of the team. And she put us on the side with the strength and conditioning coach. And she was like, every time one team gonna run, they're gonna run the fast break. You're gonna run it too.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever the team like was running the fast break, we were running and on time. So I think we ran maybe over 70 something sprints. And
that day.
Yes, and I was kicked out of the practice. I remember that. I remember the struggle. I was like, I think they really hit my point. Like that was the moment when I was just like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm done. Like how long can we run? Can we touch the ball? Like are we gonna touch the ball just after basketball practice would be over? Like this was crazy, right? So I think the first year was they were really testing our character.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate every moment because I think I understood what Coach Karen was saying at the first year. I mean, I remember I was so upset about running that I didn't want to show them that I'm weak. Mm-hmm. And I told you this story that I was running and I was like first. I mean, Tamara Robbins was first, obviously, with her.
Right.
Like right behind, I was like, okay, Tammy, like we're not gonna show them, like we're not gonna show them that like we give up, like we're not gonna show them we upset.
Right, stay strong.
Like, okay, give us 30 more runs. Like we're gonna run until we like they're gonna see that they're tired of us looking at us even.
Right.
So we were running, and we were first, and then we see like team behind. I was like, why they're running so slow? Like don't show them that we don't care. And sound like I think Karen Elson came to me and she's like, "Coach wants you to lead the practice," and I'm like what? And she sent me to the locker room, and like you still have that rebellious spirit, and you go into the locker room, you just want to like, oh my gosh, like seriously. So I'm sitting in the locker room already being upset because I'm training track and field, and it's like, okay, why? I was first. I was doing my best. Like I was sitting there for I think 20 minutes, but the anger go down, which was good that she didn't come right away. Mm-hmm. And then after 20 minutes, she came and she said, why coach kick you out? And I said, no, I don't understand. Like I was first. And I turn around. She said, because you didn't look back at your teammate. You were first, but you didn't encourage them to be with you on the front line. Mm-hmm. Mm. And you need to prepare to be a leader. And I'm like, okay, lesson learned. Thank you. Drop the mic. So yes, everybody need that experience. Everybody need the experience because it takes you to the moment when you realize how much you love the basketball. And if you survive that time, for all the future ballers who are in the moment of struggling, just remember that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So basically for those young kids, that lesson of her running, being first, right? Doing what she's supposed to be doing, leading by example. Sometimes it is not always enough. Mm-hmm. They were looking for you to not also be first, but make sure you're being a leader and encouraging your teammates to step it up and get what's up.
Exactly. Lesson learned. Check.
Check. Okay, so we got into college. So let's see how senior year goes in college, and let's go through your professional career kind of chronologically. Each season and where you are.
Okay. So after I graduated from UT, I finally arrived to Poland. I was extremely hungry to play pro. Actually, no. Actually, I took 6 months. Sorry, 6 months. 6 months after graduate, I stayed in the States to prepare. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I was training with one of the best strength and conditioning coaches, Angel Spasov, who's not with us anymore. But the moment I was introduced to him, that was, he's my coach forever. And I decided that I'm going to stay a little bit longer at the campus and prepare to go pro. Okay, so I had a chance to go, but I was like, okay, let me train. Let me prepare even more. So there was one of the hardest time and the best time of my life as far as preparation to go pro. And as much as you are hungry, I think I'm glad that I took so much time to prepare for pro because I really was prepared. And I finally got to Poland. And I was very excited about finally being drafted to the Polish national team. And I thought I'm going to be drafted the first year, but I guess they want to see what my level was and what did I do if I did my homework in the States. Because a lot of, you have to understand that a lot of coaches in Europe in generally, they don't think that, they think that athletes from Europe are wasted in the States in a way. When they come back, they are like either they're not mentally ready to play, or they wish for them to make a different decision or even stay. Like I had a chance to sign a pro before I actually went to the States. So they're waiting a little bit for you to, there's no really much room to make mistakes anymore, because when you sign the contract when you're 18, and somebody lets you play the minutes on the court and you still make your mistake, people say, okay, she's a prospective player, but she's very young, so you have a room to make mistakes. But when you go to the state and you come back, especially that people see me totally different. I mean, some people didn't recognize me because, you know, I mean, I gained a lot of weight, so people didn't recognize me. Yeah, right. So when I come back, people now expect for me to be ready, but most people were upset that I left the country because I got the offer to be on the national team even before I signed to go to the States. So a lot of people who were upset about that fact were kind of waiting for me not to fall, but kind of like see, okay, she maybe didn't make a right decision. So I knew that I didn't have room to make mistakes. And the first season was one of my greatest seasons ever with my teammate and Leszna Poland. One of the best seasons ever because we were the type of team that was brought together and everybody had something to prove. I mean, there was one girl who didn't play in the previous team. There was another girl who maybe I mean, was discouraged by the other coach from other team. It was me with being overweight from Texas, everybody waiting for me to fail. So it was a combination of different things, but there was a one common denominator, which was that everybody wants to prove something, you know? So we had an amazing coach. We had an amazing team at that year. And after that year, I was drafted to the national team finally. Nice. And then I was transferred for 2 years. I played for CCC Polkowice, which was in Poland, a great team. Then I played for Lotos Gdynia, and then somewhere in between, I played in France. And then I think Spain, one of the best times. So after that, everything goes on. It was one of the best experiences of my life. But the first season was the best season.
The first season?
Yes, just because of the team and the atmosphere and the chemistry. I mean, I had a great teams after that, but this was one of the best teams ever because, I mean, the first season you didn't make a lot of money yet. So everybody's on the same page, you know, There's no money, there's no like distractions or you don't have as many stars on the team, like acting like divas. So it was, I mean, people were like really, like I said, people were ready to work hard and they were ready to prove something. So it was amazing, amazing time for me.
Awesome. And how many years did you play pro?
Almost 10.
Dang. Nice. Mm-hmm. I made it to 7. So my body was like, girl, go sit down.
Okay.
That's awesome. So your last year was where? Was it France, you said, or a different country?
It was Spain. The last years of my career are Spain, which was also amazing time for me. Mm-hmm. The fact that they really respect the experienced players.
Sure.
I love the fact how they enjoy life in between. Like, we are so strict here in Poland about training and everything, and they really have a good relationships. Like, you can really have a good relationship with the coaches, with the sponsors, with the team. I mean, you know what I mean? They just really enjoy life. So, so the morning practice in Spain was at 1 p.m. because they had to sleep.
The morning.
Yep. Because they have to sleep, you know, they have to go to eat tapas. They have to drink the wine even before the game, before the training. Really, it's all about like they like to balance life. So it's not just the pro, but it's life outside. And I really like that they appreciate that they see more in athletes than just athletes.
Right, I can agree to that. So I played in Spain, maybe my 3rd year, and it was really refreshing that it just slowed down. Like, life slowed down.
Yes,
exactly. Basketball, you go to basketball practice, you do what you're supposed to do, but outside of that, they enjoy life. I mean, they would. It's different from the States because they would shut down. Maybe going to the post office, I would go try to pick up a box for my mom, and like it's literally maybe noon to like 3 o'clock and they're closed. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is how we do it. So I gotta come back later. And I think they're open later, but just the way that their culture and how they view life, and it's more to enjoy it than to work. A little different than the States, but it's very refreshing. That's why Mm-hmm.
I think I like the fact that I mean, they are really loyal people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, I have one of the best friends, like in a small town when I play. I mean, one of the best friends in a cafeteria, on a bar, whatever you call it. I mean, it's called the bar in Spain. The owners of the bar, or the bakery lady, or the ice cream shop. I mean, every place you go is not just because you're athletes, because they make a connections and a relationship with the people,
Sure.
like lifetime connections. And I love the fact that they really enjoy the relationship with the human beings, rather than just look at you like a superstar or something like that. I mean, I love the people over there, and I have a lot of friends from that period of time.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, so we talked about your last year. Take us from end of last season, where we're getting into retirement. How did you make that decision? Was it just time? Did you play enough? Was it the body? And then what did you do through this gap before getting to the current position you're in right now?
Okay. I mean, it's always a very difficult decision, because I mean, one of the best seasons that I had in Spain was when I was a very experienced player, which was very surprising. And I was also related to the fact that I had a coach who, I mean, in the middle of the night, he will put the money on me. So, so the confidence that he will give me was extremely, and it was very important for me to have that, to actually feel to be appreciated as a player,
Mm-hmm.
especially at my age at that time, you know. So I was a leader of the team. I mean, like we said before, we could enjoy the life outside of the basketball. We had a good relationship. I had a good relationship with the team, with the sponsors, everybody. So I extremely, extremely enjoyed that time. But and I want to continue. Actually, I want to continue. I had a 2 more year contract to
Mm-hmm.
stay. But somehow I was doing some, like my last 4 years actually of playing. I was doing some other things in between, because I want to make a smooth transfer to the normal life, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to wait until the time when you've done, you hang in your shoes, and then you say, okay, what to do next. So in between, so last 4 years, I was spending a lot of time in Spain, going to the practices of the other coaches. I was actually staying after my training. After my practice, I was staying. I was asking other coaches in Spain if I could stay and watch how they train, what's special about like day training, why they are so successful as a national team. You know, so I was like actually observing. I have a kind of like a free coaching clinics, you know, and I was already last 4 years, I was looking at my coach's philosophy from the perspective of the coach, not the player anymore. I was like, why are we playing that way? Why this timing is important? Why are we moving this way? Why are we playing this? So I was observing a lot. So I was preparing. I knew that I had to prepare it. And when I finished the season, basically, I mean, there was a time that I already gave up the national team, because the national team always was in the summertime, and I want to spend the summer also to prepare myself for the next chapter of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the CEO of the Warrior International Training in the States when I was traveling to the States in the summertime. I was doing a lot of camps, coaches clinic over there. I mean, working with other coaches, and kind of preparing for my future destination, I should say. So yeah. So the last 4 years was extremely important for me in the aspect of preparing for that.
Yeah.
But also, like I said, it was a very difficult decision, because when you have your best seasons and then you have to give up, like, then you realize, okay, this is a time, because I don't want to, because two more, like from one more season, you go 2 more seasons, because you can go, like, it's not that my body say, you know, no. So that was one thing. And the other thing was that, I mean, during this time, the other factor that like helped me to make a decision was the fact that my coach died. the Angel Spasov, the one who was the strength and conditioning coach for me. And just the fact that he's not there anymore, it wasn't the same for me. Just like, even if he was always far away and I was on the court, I always felt his strength. I mean, he told me that one of my advantage was the fact that I was training with the best coach in the world, and I believe that. And when he was not there anymore, I thought I lost my wings.
Yeah, understandable. And he was a coach for UT team, right? Was it soccer or tennis?
No, he was a soccer, but he was the main strength and conditioning coach, and he was, before even our time, he was a strength and conditioning coach for UT, and he was working for Jody Conrad as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
perfect. Okay, awesome. So thanks for sharing your story, your background. We gotta share that and give that to the kids out here and young athletes. Let's talk more about your role right now as the head men's coach for a Polish team in Poland, or club. What's the name of your team, coach?
Wiara Lecha team. It's called Wiara Lecha.
Let me see if I can pop it up there. Is that right?
The question is, can you say it?
No. No.
Okay. We're gonna leave it for another time. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can't try it. So now, what does this title mean to you as the head coach of a men's team and the first in Poland? Correct.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, the title itself means nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. Because title, it's for the ego. It's to feeding the ego. I mean, I'm the best, I'm the first, whatever. It doesn't help anybody.
Sure.
But the responsibility that comes with the title, it means everything. It means that I don't want to keep this title for myself and for my own ego. I want to do something about the title. So first of all, I have to do my job the best I can for the other women to have to be even considered being higher on a position.
Yeah.
So whoever's after me would be considered if I'm going to do the great job. Okay. So basically being the first is the responsibility. And also, just to have the title means that in the future, if I ever be in a position, I want to create more working place for women. So I want to have assistant coaches of women. I want to share the title with somebody. I don't want to just give it for myself, for my ego, basically.
Awesome. That's awesome. Awesome way to think about that. You talked a little bit about the responsibility, but what type of pressure, and did you feel pressure going into it? Even your first month, right? Getting the team together, finding your players. What type of pressure did you feel?
Okay. First of all, I mean, something you need to know about me, I love pressure.
Uh-oh.
I love it.
Showtime.
I love pressure. I mean, pressure is a motivator. You know what I mean? It's something that keeps you humble. It's something that keeps you ready. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I always was the player that could have 0 seconds on the clock and you could put me on the line. And either you make the shot or you don't go to Olympics. I would be that type of player. So I'm not afraid of having the pressure as a coach, especially being in the men's league. I don't feel it at all. I just have to be humble and ready always, all the time. And this is a great motivator, I think, the pressure, and the other motivator are the haters, obviously. I mean, if they show up in your life, you know you're doing something right. So
you always know you're doing something right.
Yeah, so I appreciate them too.
We appreciate the haters out there. Something, she said.
Wherever you are, you know who you are. Thank you.
Crazy. So let's see. What is important to you? You might have talked a little bit about it, but what are some other things that are important to you as a coach when you are leading your team? Maybe it's more specific to the guys that you're leading.
Okay. I mean, athletes itself. Okay, so I put the athletes before the winning, but I put the human beings before the athlete.
I like that.
Okay, so a lot of coaches forget about the fact that I mean, yes, like we compete. I mean, I love the competition, and you play sports to win. Like that's obviously, I mean, that's what business is about. And we wouldn't do it if it wasn't about the competition or winning. But you have to remember that the athletes play more important role outside of the basketball court. And sometimes the coaches forget about it. So when they leave the court, they are the fathers, they are the husbands. I mean, they have struggles, they have feelings, you know. So when you look at the athlete just as a business, so I want you to perform because you are the athlete. I mean, that's not my type of philosophy, okay? So I would like to, I mean, I demand from my players, but I want to have also a relationship with them. You know, I want them to feel that I care about them as a human beings outside of the basketball rather than I care about you until you bring in the wins, you know? I think that's the most important thing. And I recently actually watched, Dennis Rodman when he was conducted to the Hall of Fame.
The Last Dance? His Hall of Fame.
Yes, he's Hall of Fame because now I'm bringing old school. Yeah, due to the series there's on Netflix. But I watched his interview. I mean, not interview, but when he was conducted to the Hall of Fame, his speech, and he say that he would rather that he have a one regret in life, and that he was not a good father. And for me as a coach, it's important that my players wouldn't have had that regret. So I would rather for them to have a regret that they were the bad basketball players rather than what the Dennis Rodman was talking in his speech, basically. So athletes first, always.
Yeah, and I think we've had some really good coaches. I've had some in my career, and I think that's a common theme is for those really, really good coaches can get a lot out of their players athletically and mentally when they first focus on them as a player, a person, and understanding that connection. Coaching is hard. I've done a little bit of it with AAU, but it's a whole different world from being a high-performing athlete. And then you have to be a coach to put these 10 to 15 different types of players into this one puzzle to win and build a team, and also to have coaches and that philosophy. That's a lot of work. And
it's a lot of work, but
person in a team.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. And I also believe that you have to look at the personality of the players, you know. You can't have just 12 superstars. Like, it's not gonna work.
Ever.
You always have to look, because somebody's gonna fight. Somebody's gonna fight over territory, you know. If you were you can have 12 Michael Jordans. I mean, good luck. They're gonna fight over the ball, simple as that. So you have to look at the combinations. Actually, confession, you're one of the players that I will if I would be a coach, I would be recruiting. Like, you'll be just for the fact that you were always disciplined player, you were always listening. I mean, you were extremely coachable, extremely professional. And I think, I looking for those type of players. I would rather to put, if you put very, very talented player over somebody who's very disciplined but a little bit less talent, I still go with the discipline.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. You can get more out of a disciplined player.
Exactly.
In the long run.
In the long run. Exactly.
In the long run. Awesome. I appreciate that. And just to piggyback off that, I think, my success as a player came from having those good discipline, behaviors and characteristics, and then also getting to a team like UT and wanting to fit in and wanting to show value any way I could. There was no ego about, this freshman can play, but I'm trying to get minutes, but I'm trying to play with you. I'm trying to play with Tiff. I'm trying to play with Nina Norman. I want to be where you need me. That was my thing. And also to Coach Conrad and our assistant coaches, I would listen to see what it is that they are yelling about, and that maybe someone's not doing. What can I do to help the team?
Or what the team is missing that nobody wants to perform or give. That we were talking about. You know what I mean? Because you like sometimes put the pressure on yourself, like what kind of role you want to have, instead of like what is missing on the team and what will give you a minute.
Yes, absolutely. That's the mentality a lot of young athletes don't have and don't understand, that when you flip it to not necessarily what you want to be, but what that certain team, that AAU team or your college team, what do they need?
Yeah.
What do they need? Right.
But that's also very hard lesson to learn, because you fighting against your own ego.
You gotta drop the ego.
That you have to drop the ego, and that's very difficult thing to understand. That first of all, you're fighting with yourself before you're fighting with the coach.
Look, you ain't gonna be fighting with the coach. You're gonna be on the bench.
I know, right?
Ain't no fight. There's no fight, right?
Fight for like first month.
Yeah, coach gonna win though.
Drop the ball.
Just so y'all know, there's no fighting with the coach over playing time. You just gotta drop that ego and figure out where you can fit in.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Let me see what other questions I have. Okay, so you have been keeping up with the Last Dance series.
Yep.
Right? Okay, and that's phenomenal. Like the little part about Pippen being number 2 player, right, in the league, arguably, and then Michael Jordan's right-hand man, underpaid that much. But like we would never know that he was going through that type of in the back story of the team, like backstage, all that kind of drama in the Last Dance. But it's interesting to see. It's very very interesting and entertaining. And Rodman for sure.
Yeah.
I always loved Rodman because of he was just who he was, you know. And he gave he was a huge value. Think about, like, for anybody that's watching, like kids, young athletes that are watching, Rodman made a fortune off of just rebounding.
Yeah.
And if you watch a lot of his clips, he gets position, or he'll fight longer, and he tips the ball until the other player just gives it up.
But that's what I'm talking about. It's like we just talk about it, the role. You know what I mean? Like find the role that fits, not for your ego, but what the team needs, and you can still make a career. And that's why so many people don't play, because they design the role for themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I love that, how you just put it. Let me see here. So you've played professionally in Poland, France, Spain, as well as on the Polish national team. Why do you think there's such a small number of maybe basketball players that go pro? I guess from states and maybe in European too, international basketball.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, the basketball world is a very tough business. It's a tough business. I mean, and sometimes the players, they're working hard according to their definition. And when they have to work hard according to somebody else's definition, that they realize that they don't love basketball that much. Okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until you're in your comfort zone and you're working really, really hard because you believe that you're a baller, you got it. Somebody has to push you out of your comfort zone to actually see if you still like it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so that's the first thing. That's my opinion. I think the other thing that we just talk about is the role. I mean, so many players that I know were way talented, I should say, and like I said, I would put money on them that they're gonna play pro, but it's something missing in them. And I think sometimes the character, sometimes the fact that they maybe they maybe design the role for themselves. And if they don't get it right away, like everybody had a season. Everybody had a season. We had a season like in Texas. I'm sure you had a season in your professional career that, I mean, coaches right away didn't put I mean, you right away were in the starter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes if people don't get it that role for themselves right away, they don't want it anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody, and that's also the ego, because everybody want to be a Michael Jordan when the basketball world also need Pippen and Dennis Rodman.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those players don't play because they don't want to be Pippen or Dennis Rodman. They don't want that role for themselves. They want the role that they design for themselves. And that's the biggest mistake. And some of the very, very talented players don't go pro because they're always fighting against the ego instead of like, I know some of the players in my league that I can mention that I don't remember that they were the greatest scorer, but they were the greatest players. Like when I think about it, they were the greatest players because they were giving the best assists. They were working hard in defense, and they had like 10 years also career of playing pro. So
Right.
you know, just to think about it, that I mean, you have to drop the ego and you have to perform what somebody else expected from you. And especially in pro, because in college you still, I mean, you have to understand that in college you're still struggling to be rebellious. I mean, you're still very young. You still have to adjust to a lot of things. Mm-hmm. But when you're pro, you have to look at this as a job. I mean, even if it's your passion, you have to still look at it as a job. So when somebody asks you to do something, you actually have to perform, because you have to think it in a way that somebody pays for it.
And it's going to help the team.
Yeah, it's going to help your team. And nobody wanna work with undisciplined players. Nobody wants to work with somebody who play against philosophy of the coach.
Yeah.
Because in college you sit down on the bench, but in pro you get fired.
Quick.
Bam.
I mean, it's so fast. They'll
and then you find out from the internet usually.
You'll find out from the internet, and somebody will call and be like, "Hey, saw this player's coming in for you." Like, what? That I can happen in Puerto Rico. But
it's all on the Twitter all over the world, but you're the last one to find
out. It's all over social media. I mean, they going to pick her up from the airport now, and you haven't even left.
Yep, and that's what you learn. That's what you have to learn. Like, even related to this, like I remember like I was playing for this coach in Spain, and we play important games with the like top team. So I was guarding this girl, and so I knew she was shooting three, but he wants me to go under like the screen. So she shoots three, like 1 3, 2 3. He taking a timeout. And he said, I asked him, like, you still want me to go under? And he was
9 points down.
Right. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should be rebellious and go over the top. No, because I already was experienced. But I was like, okay, you pay for it. He was like, no, I want you to go under. Okay, got it. Because you have to know that the coach takes responsibility for his own philosophy. And sometimes player fight against it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because looking back at my career, I had the same kind of issues. Not rebellious, but just having philosophy coaches that have philosophies that I don't really think it'll work for me, or it's not going to work for the team. But I had discipline, and I could drop that ego to say, hey, I'm still going to play this game and try to win this game, but I still have to show coach that I respect him or her and try to make their philosophy work. And it's up to the coach then, as a player, to change it up for us.
Yep. Great. And you know what? You have to also notice that this is like for the future players. Like, you have to also notice that this is just a time period.
Yeah.
It's never going to stay the same. So like next season, like if you survive and you still disciplined and you still did what you're supposed to, like you're going to get hired. Like you might stay with the same coach. You might go farther, but like you stay in the league, like it gets you a job, like basically. So, but you have to learn. You have to get the experience, and like on the beginning, definitely wasn't like that for me too. So I have to learn that lesson really quickly.
Yeah. And then it's like it's really playing overseas. You just get used to it.
Yeah.
But there's been some coaches that I really like their philosophy, and it worked for the whole team. Whether it was some of the American players and the locals, like it just worked for all of us. It didn't matter. Okay.
What was the philosophy? Let me ask about that. Pass the ball and shoot. Pass the ball to me.
Pass the ball to me. So my first year, my freshman year, going from Texas, I didn't have the ball in my hands like that. I was more of the rebounder, defender, talker, energy, right? But I could score. I could shoot and score. So you really couldn't leave me open. But my first year in Portugal as a rookie, I mean, the ball was in my hands, and like it was different for me because I'm used to like being a small forward and trailing and coming down and getting the play, setting screens. But now I have the ball, like first pick is for me, ball in my hand. They're looking at me. So I had to get used to that within my team. First year was a little struggle, but it was fun. And it was just a different mentality shift.
Oh, got you.
It was a mentality shift for me to be okay with the ball in my hand. So I hadn't, for those 4 years at UT, the ball was not in my hand.
Got you.
Or maybe fourth or fifth pass, I would get it. And I would be in a position to reverse the ball or make a play. Do I take this three or do I keep if I miss it, I'm going to be out. So now let me keep the play going,
When you get it, you go. You don't count because then you have to count again 6 passes or wait for a night. I'll be like, no.
I'm just going to reverse it. But yeah, I forgot my train of thought, but yeah, that was a big thing for me my freshman year. And then after that, the way I trained was different. I had more offensive. I was more offensively minded, along with all those other rebounding and defense. Like we both play both ends of the court. A lot of players don't have. They need to develop that where not only are you getting buckets, right, but you have to be getting rebounds. You got to be throwing dimes. You got to be understanding what's happening and being a leader to be able to help your teammates get in the right position. So there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can get value.
But adding to that, like the other advice that I would have for the players that I learned really quickly too, like, you remember like when people, like when the coach is asking, like, are you play 4 position, 5 position, 1 position, right? And you say, I play 3, 2,
or whatever.
Yeah. So I learned to really quickly not answer always yes. Like always yes. Like it gets you always. You play 5, yeah. You play 1, yeah. And then you have 24 hours to
figure it out.
It always get you a minute. Like seriously, it always get you a minute. That's the one thing that's you don't limit yourself. Like you say yes, and then you have a time to figure out. You have 24 hours to the game. Like, let's go. Let's do it. Like suddenly somebody is like dropping off, can't play. You play 5. Yep. I play 5 all my life. Yep. Like
wow.
To the point where like even when I was like playing in Spain, like the coach will like really like me and give me a lot of confidence. It was like, Dia, I want you to play point guard. So look at my face, like me dribbling.
Me dribbling.
but that was in my head. I was like, oh, I got it.
Of course, we're gonna say okay, and then you're like in your mind, like, oh.
I was like, shoot. I had the best seasons ever. Like me even have a part when I had to play point guard because like I mean we had a point guard, a great point guard, Spanish point guard, but she was just like struggling a little bit sometimes to get the ball on the other side of the court. I was like, okay, I got it. I'm experienced.
Maybe because of science or whatever. Yeah.
So always say yes, players. Ballers.
Awesome. I love that. Let me add on to that. Always say yes, but it's always too like, I mean, if your size doesn't like hold you into a point guard or a traditional 5, if you're kind of 2, 3, 4, 6, 3, whatever, it's about the skills that you're working on. You can play the 2, you can play the 3, you can play the 4. Do you know how to post up and turn around and face up? Can you dribble? Do you have those skills? Can you catch and shoot? It's more so what I see with these kids today, which I love and I admire about their athleticism is their skill development. I love that they can all, most of them higher playing athletes can dribble. They can hold the ball, handle the ball. They can see the court vision. They can shoot the three. They can pull up. They can attack. Right. We've got to. It's easy to. I feel like it's easy to get. It's easy to get the skills because all you have to do is get in the gym, over and over. But it's the understanding the film. I'm getting excited. Understanding the film. It's understanding the game, understanding leadership. It's all those other things, the mental part of the game, which is really like 80% of the game. You don't think about it because you see the game, right? But you have all these skills, but you don't know when to use them, how to use them, who should get the last shot, how to, the game happens so fast, but players like you and I can slow the game down and see all of these different options. We see the triangles being made. We see somebody getting ready to go on backdoor. We understand what it looks like. Right. So that's the part I want to try and help.
I think but that's the modern basketball. That's why, like, I love the fact that, like, for example, Gasols were like trained to be a point guard with their size. Like, you don't like. I love the fact that the big players are already treated like a guard. That's like modern basketball rather than having like from 1 to 5 players. You really don't have a 5 player anymore. You really have a versatile player, like players who big players who can shoot outside, and opposite, big players who can dribble. And I love that fact because it's all about being athletic. That's modern basketball.
Yep. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your team. Tell us, bring us into the team. Tell us how your first season went. Tell us a little bit about the guys. This is exciting. Very exciting.
I mean, I love this team. Most of all. I love it. Just the way from the individuals to the moment when they became the team. I'm sure that was a huge shock for them when I walk in the gym, for the first time, because they never see women to be a coach. I'm sure, and they never been coached. I think maybe one player was coached in the past by the woman, but most of them were not coached by women. So I think they were more shocked. I was ready, but they were more shocked. So how we can make adjustment to that, but for this team, it's very interesting that we have the range age. So we have the younger player who joined the team in the middle of the season and he's 17, and then you have somebody who is 41.
This is typical for European or international basketball.
Yeah, right. But how you make adjustment to the kid who spending his time on Instagram, and then you have to send him a message about, okay, let's go to the dinner, or how are you, just to have a communication with him, to the guys in betweens who are not so much in the social media, but they understand, to the ones who don't understand social media at all, and who understand the old school basketball and remember those times when Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman were playing. So it's a combination, but overall, this was a great experience for me, for the fact that individually they're great people.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot to create the good relationship and the chemistry with them. And I love the fact that they decided on their own where they became a team. We had some plan on the beginning of the season, and I'm not going to tell the details of our agreement, but
sure.
They basically decided the moment when they became the team, and that was the biggest success for our team this season. They really like each other, they really work. They butts off on the basketball court, but they like each other outside, I think. And they still, here and right now, they still spending time with each other and calling, and I think that's the biggest success for this season.
Okay. So this is your first season there with them. How long did it take for them to buy in to your philosophy as players in the team? Like, how long did that bonding take? So I know we talked earlier before, and you had a pretty good season. You had some wins. So historically, it's a pretty good season, right?
Yeah. I mean, the first season is always very difficult because they don't know. I mean, first of all, you're working with the trust, you know, and you have to notice that even if it's a professional level and you pay the players, still about trust. Like it's still about understanding the philosophy. And sometimes they're coming from such a different schools of basketball that coming together in taking them out of the comfort zone, like in such a short period of time, because we really got together. We really didn't have a preseason. We really didn't have a preseason. So we have 3 weeks to start the first game. Okay, because we got together so late. And what do you focus on? Are you focused on defense? Are you focused on offense? Are you focused on transition? Are you focused like on what? So I think, I mean, they jumped to the deep water. They, on the beginning, they didn't understand what the heck I was saying. I mean, they were working against the trust issues. I mean, the woman stepping out on the court, trying to fix something, like how we deal with that fact. So this is a lot for them to understand, and understand also different philosophy of basketball that I have, because I have experience from playing in Spain, and the fact that I was like watching practices over there, and I had a little experience of working in the States. So how you define that style when they never see it before. But they really adjust really well. I think I think they recognize I'm very competitive. I'm about the business. And as soon as they start trusting me on the basketball court, we start having conversation outside of the basketball court, and that's how the relationship starts. And it was much easier from that point to create the team, because they start trusting me.
Awesome. How would you describe your guys' style as far as your team? Are they scrappy? They fast?
I'm sorry to admit to the fact that right now the Chicago is on the serious last dance, but we are like bad boys, Pistons. Sorry.
Oh snap! I should have known. Bad boys.
I would compare them. Like, I mean, we are from such a different style. I mean, they are from different backgrounds, and I said if we have a limited time, we have to be very uncomfortable team for all the teams in the league. You know, like you need to go. If you can't shoot, you have to rebound. If you can't play defense, you have to foul. I mean, that's how it goes, you know? Not to, like, we have to be very, very aggressive. That's the first style.
Yeah.
Then we have to be very fast. So we are really good in transition.
Yep.
We don't really spend too much time on setting a set play, like the European style of basketball is used to it.
Right.
And we basically working on the confidence of the players, because a lot of them, just from coming off different clubs, they coming with the different background. So we have to get working on that too, you know, because a lot of them didn't have that role before, and now you suddenly tell them you're going to be a leader, and they never used to it. So we have to work on that too, and I think a lot of those guys gained that confidence through that season. I think it helped them a lot.
Awesome.
But yeah, bad boy Pistons.
Bill Lambier. I see you, Bill Lambier. I see you. That's interesting.
When you step on the basketball court with those guys, that's a battlefield. That's what I tell you. You have to be ready. You have to be ready. And that's why some of the referees are not ready for that. Not ready for the fact that they really are tough guys, and they can play D. They can when they play D, you have to hit the wall before you have to run through them. Basically,
you really got to earn it. I mean, we're not giving up buckets here.
You got to earn it.
Wow. Okay. Let's talk. So I know there is. I want to talk about a player on your team that I believe got MVP this year. Yep. I've got his name. Go ahead and introduce him. Let's learn a little bit about his background and talk about his where he came from, and then just how he progressed over the season.
I mean, this is the guy who showed up in my gym in just from the moment he would start dribbling the ball. I turn around and say I want to have him on the team.
Wow.
I mean, you got it or you don't have it at all. I mean, right away, I mean, he didn't put a lot of pressure of being in the front of the coaches to show themselves the best. He was just out there doing his things. He was very natural. And you could say that he didn't even have to start shooting the ball. We already knew that he had a very good background and experience of playing even like professional level.
Okay.
He's the most experienced player on our team. I mean, amazing guy, amazing player, a true leader. He have a true understanding of the basketball court, the timing, spacing. I mean, I'm glad that this season he became more vocal, because on the beginning he was very tough on the basketball, but very quiet.
Okay.
Like he would never like scream at the teammate or so I'm glad they became a vocal leader.
Yeah.
But he's extremely tough guy, and he basically makes our team better. I mean, every player on the guard position, he's a 3-4 player, but every player on the guard position should want to play against him, because he just want to make you better as a teammate,
compete,
and prepare you for the battle when you step on the basketball court. I mean, he's just that type of guy.
Awesome. How do you say his name?
Come on, you got it. Do it the second name, the last name.
Martuzowski.
Wonderful. He's gonna be proud. He's gonna be proud. Yeah.
I gotta practice.
You got it. Perfect.
All right. Well, shout out to him. Congrats on having a great season. It just stinks that we had to. A lot of basketball teams had to cut the season short, so we don't know what we truly could have been. But congrats to you for having a great first year.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to get front row right behind you and screing with my pom-poms at your game.
Okay, leave the pom-pom in the house.
Okay, I'll leave the pom-poms.
Don't embarrass me out there.
Okay. Let me ask this. So this is a different question, and more for players to understand. It's not always about what you do on the court for a coach. So is there a player on your team that is more of that leader and that sticky glue for the team, that might not play a lot, or might not be the best player, but he is so instrumental to y'all's survival and winning because of his vocalness, because of his leadership and bringing people together?
Definitely. I mean, Łukasz Gruszczyński, we call him Grucha. Grucha, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, Grucha. I mean, he's the type of leader that is very vocal. He understands the history of the club. I mean, he was the one who was introducing me and helping a lot to understand what it means to belong to this club, to be a part of this club.
Okay.
I think you always have to have somebody who understands the history and who fully represent the club in the best way. And I think he's the best representative of that kind of club.
Awesome.
I mean, he was the guy who will always read my mind in the practice. Like if I would come to the practice and sometimes I was just kind of like, let's say we had a very, very bad practice and I'm tired of like being basically that policeman. It's almost like he was reading my mind that was his time to step in and say something to the team. And I really appreciate the fact that he was that type of leader. And for future coaches, I think everybody needs somebody like the Olympian team, somebody who truly understands the history and can kind of transform that history and allow the other players to understand what it means to be a part of this club.
Okay, so that's what we call here. What do we call it? A player coach.
Yeah,
you're pretty much an assistant coach, but you're also a player. We can also just put you in whenever we need to. You can be subbed in. So that's awesome to have a player coach. So just make sure. I just like to preach to kids that, and young athletes, even players that are playing pro right now, but they're in their second, third, fourth year. If you ever get to a team where you're not playing, you can also always give value. There's always ways to give value. You have to pay attention. And sometimes it takes you to come out of your comfort zone into another one, or just say, Coach, how can I help? What do you need?
Yep.
And just see what the coach says.
Yep.
Check in with coach.
Yep.
Understand their coach. I want to talk about philosophy. I don't understand this part of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So a lot of times even in my career, I wish I would have talked to my coaches a lot more about their philosophy and to help me, especially the coaches that maybe I weren't too tight with, understanding their philosophy and how they think and why they think that, right? That helps us bond. And when the coach makes decisions that I'm like, in the game, I'm like, okay, I know why he or she's making that decision.
Okay.
I understand it. So I'm buying in more.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I buy into my coaches no matter what. I'm disciplined. That's what we're supposed to do, right? But then when it's a different thing when you have talked to the coach and they have explained like where they're coming from. You understand. You understand a little bit more.
Yeah. But you understand it because I know you as being a disciplined player, but you also have to know that you sometimes dealing with the players who still come to you and still the ego is bigger. So they still want to hear it. They don't hear it. Okay. Mm-hmm. They listen, but they don't hear it. They don't want to, again, they fighting against like they kind of like bargaining with you to like what kind of role they want to have, not what kind of role you have designed for them. So sometimes you have to understand that like you can have a conversation one time, second time, third one, and see how the athletes will respond. But now from the coaching perspective, I understand that also that you sometimes it's just the maturity of the fact that somebody's still fighting against ego, it won't help. So the 1,000 conversation about it is that the moment when the coach is dropping the ball, it's like, I'm not going to take care of you anymore because you need to look at the whole picture of the team and how this one individual affects the entire team.
Mm-hmm.
So either you drop it for the better result of the entire team, or you just focus on him and losing your energy. So sometimes I do. Before I didn't understand it because I wasn't a coach, but now I understand how difficult it is to manage and allow the players to understand. And that's why it's so important to pick the players on the team if you have a choice as a coach, to also look at those personalities that will fit the team, not just the skill.
Absolutely. Probably why Gino has won a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I definitely want to see their practices. I've always wanted to visit and see their practices and talk to him about understanding how do you choose your players, because like I've seen players like sit the bench for UConn 2-3 years, and then all of a sudden they have this crazy senior year, and then they're in the WNBA. I'm like, where did she come from?
Yeah.
And just because they sit the bench and they're not playing as much or they're not in that top 6 doesn't mean they're not growing and growing and growing.
Exactly.
And on the pro level when they get to senior year, they just can be able to play for him.
Yeah. But to survive that moment when you become like, when you're so patiently waiting for your turn and humbly working on a game, like it's crazy, because in between you going through so many battles, like with yourself, with the role, with all the struggling that you have. Like, so how are you going to survive that moment to still see the rainbow behind the mountain? Like how you going to survive that? How are you going to
That's hard.
That's hard, you know what I mean? And that's why the business is hard. That's what the business is hard, because you have to survive the moment. You like when you like in your career, everybody has those moments. But when you realize that you're not staying, you're not always gonna have that role, or you're not always gonna be that place, you realize that 10 years from now you're looking at back in your career and say, I got it, I survived it, you know what I mean? But when you're still battling against your ego and thinking like, if I don't get it now, then I don't want it.
Yeah.
That's the moment when people like walking away or stop working hard or allowing proof to those coaches that, yep, that's why you're on the bench.
Yeah. So, Coach, let me ask you this. What do you think about, because we're kind of talking about the patience and maturity, what do you think about players who have these high expectations for themselves when they go to a big school, D1, and they're wanting to play, or they think they should play freshman year, and then come to find out they don't play. Maybe they don't play sophomore year either, and they transfer. Do you think we see that a lot, too much transferring, or are we not mature to understand and see the vision? Like, what's going on? What do you think is going on with that?
I mean, depend on the team, because you have to look it up. I mean, Texas was very specific. I mean, that's a very specific place, very specific schools. And when you think about yourself as being talented, like look around, everybody is All-American.
Right, right.
But when you go there, you don't know that. You think that you're the only one. Okay? Mm-hmm. So how much harder you need to work to get your talent through that talent?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I think recruiting process, it's crucial. I mean, especially for those who sometimes like always want to be in a top school, but sometimes like being in the middle school, like somewhere in the middle of the league, it will be the perfect fit for you, because you will have that role for yourself.
Sure.
And when you go to Texas and you have to compete with so many talented players, I remember that time when I was in Texas, we basically had, like, you could put first starters and you could put the last starters, and almost you didn't see the difference between the players because they were so talented, you know. Mm-hmm. So how much you have to work. So I think you have to look it up at the recruiting process. Sometimes the UConn or Texas or the big schools would not be a perfect fit for you. You know what I mean? Sometimes still go to Big 12, but go to the school who is somewhere in the middle of the league.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, yeah, because like you're gonna struggle the first season. Everybody's gonna. All the players struggle, but sometimes that's the first thing. That was the first thing that when I came back when I graduated from Texas, that was the first thing that I remember. I signed with the team who was like not the greatest prospect in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to sell myself.
Strategy.
It's a strategy. You go on a top team and right away. Listen, people didn't see me for 5 years. I gained a lot of weight. People didn't recognize me, waiting for me to fail because they still remember I didn't sign for the national team before I left. Everybody was upset about the fact that I left Poland when I was supposed to sign the 5 years contract. Everybody waiting. Everybody
go get better.
Exactly. And like I said, I had the greatest team ever because everybody has something to prove. And it was first of all, nobody make a lot of money. Everybody was on the same page. Everybody was driven to work hard, you know. So you were more visible, you know, rather than going to the right away signing the contract when I had a chance to sign the contract for the first season for the better team. And you still struggle with the adjustment, but then on the top of everything, you still struggle with other players who are as talented as you are.
Yeah, because there's that development.
Exactly.
You practice and all that, but there's that, you miss out on that game development and being put in certain situations in the game and positions that could really accelerate your development. And Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to look at what teams you choose, what colleges you choose, and it's all strategy.
It is strategy.
You really have to know. Yeah, you really have to know yourself and what you're able to deal with. Are you okay? Is this the school you want to go to? If you sit for 2 years and have to put all that practice time in, are you okay playing your junior year?
Yep.
A lot of people aren't. But I can look at a team and I say, okay, if I sit for 2 years, even in those 2 years that I'm sitting, who am I behind? Who do I get to learn with? Who do I get to play with on a day-to-day? How smart are they? What coaches are going to be there to
when am I going to replace?
Yeah. Who do I have to learn? Yeah, who am I replacing? And I get 2 years to be with them before I'm
and what are you going to in between?
Develop.
Like in between time when you get here and you don't have you are not the first replacement. Like what are you going to time in what are you going to do? How are you going to use that time in between?
Exactly.
Like the time where we were saying like about UConn, like they don't play for 2 years and suddenly they're in signing WNBA and they have a great careers. Like what are you going to do about that time? I mean, obviously they were working hard and they were patiently waiting for their turn, but like seriously, like you have to have a character to do that. But I also think that related to what you say, I think also having a mentor, you know what I mean? Because you cannot expect from a young players to know that.
Yeah.
And that's why I appreciate the fact that you have that kind of show. You have different players, former, currently, one who can say things from different perspective, but having a mentor that you absolutely trust, that sometimes we didn't have. Like it's like, like for my parents, like even crazy thing was for me to go on the other part of the war, not to even mention like how to recruit the schools. Like everybody else was excited about me getting offer and about, for example, me getting offer from Texas when I didn't know what Texas was about.
Yeah, so your teammates are like, Texas, and you were like,
yeah. Exactly. So that's for international athletes.
Yeah.
But also for local ones is to have a mentor player, whoever went through the road, to kind of like, because everybody makes mistakes. I mean, we're not perfect, and if we look at the bag, like in the back, and we would say what we would do differently, probably we will find something that we would do differently. I'm sure. But just
hold on. I got a whole list. No, I'm playing.
Let me get. I even like how many mistakes I made. But I mean, that's having a mentor, because I even talk to my husband, who is a strength and conditioning, and he would say, if I will have that mentor, if I will have somebody who would tell me the truth, not to tell, right, like,
yeah,
don't go there, but being like really not diplomatic about things, but being real about things, because because that's also very, very important for the players to hear. Okay, this might not be the great fit for you, or you're a great player, but I think you can show your talent and true colors, whatever, go signing with this school. And I think people need that kind of mentoring, but not too much. Too much mentoring is also very destructive and cause chaos. So having few people that you trust, and then close the list, and stick to intuition, basically.
Try to find mentors that are factual and not leaning towards a school because they have some connection, or they have any benefit, but it's just like, get the facts and then you make the decision. You have to make the decision as a player. For example, with when Coach Conrad retired, I think we were able to, I think, move schools, transfer without having to sit out. I don't know if that was the right rule, but we were able to transfer and not sit out and play. And I do wish, like, at that moment, I would have had some alumni that had played, or somebody to tell me, come and sit with me and say, hey, these are your options. You can stay, right? Because this is your school. You chose to be here, or you do have the option to move to another school, maybe with the coach that previously recruited you, like LSU. LSU was actually my second choice after Texas. Who ended up going to LSU? Travis. Travis Mays. Like, I love Travis.
Yeah, I love him.
He was a good staple as a coach for me because he always kept it real. He told me when I was doing a great job, and he also told me, like, when you need, you need to pick it up, right? Pick it up, do this, do that a little faster. Like, I loved him because he was just so real and it was balanced for me.
Exactly. I love the word. I love the word when you use the balance, because I was about to say he was a great balance for the coaching staff. I mean, when somebody was tough, he was the one who come to me, he would say, we got this. Yeah. Like, when we struggling, he was the ones who say, like, I got your back. But in the same time, he was real when, like,
right? He wasn't just the good cop, but he was positive overall. But he was like, he gonna get into you if you're not doing what you know you can do.
Yeah.
And everybody just had that respect for Coach because we understood he saw us as people first, because that's how we connected with him. And then he was just so cool overall, but we just could
understand. And besides, he was playing against Michael Jordan with the short shorts.
The short shorts.
Did you saw the pic?
I did. He was on the Kings, right? Sacramento Kings is when he played with.
He was playing against Jordan.
Man, I want to see the rest of that play.
Right? Are we gonna watch the series? Maybe we're gonna see him
tomorrow. Yeah, maybe we can.
I'm like, Coach, did you get your ankle broke by MJ? It's okay.
No, we need to. He had to pull up.
All right. Man. I was like, don't worry, Coach. Half of the league got the ankles broken. It's okay to get beat by the Jordan, but it was cool. It was really cool.
Awesome. So I have actually a comment from your MVP player. So I was able to ask him a few questions about you, and he was he gave us some answers. Pretty cool. Let me see if I can get him.
Perfect. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay. So the first question, basic question: what kind of coach is Coach Daria? And he says, I played for many coaches starting from when I was young until my pro career. However, there is no comparison to Coach DMZ, what they call you, and her professionalism. She is on another level. She demands a lot from her athletes and as well as from herself. How do you feel about that statement?
True. Very tough. I'm very tough. Very tough. When they're in trouble, they know when they're in trouble. Okay.
They know when they're about to get it.
My assistant coaches step away and be like, you got it.
Yeah.
You're on your own, but I think I want to think about myself that I'm fair, you know, when they're doing a good job. I think I like to say that, but just because I was very competitive athlete, I'm very competitive, as a coach. And I always want to look at them as very professional. I want to treat them professional. I want the best for them, for the situation that they're in, to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I demand, but say good things, but when they're in trouble, they know
exactly.
I'm gonna set the gym on fire for sure.
Okay. All right. I have another one. A couple questions from him. Okay, so this one is, from being a professional player, what is Coach D's advantage as a coach, right? So taking your professional basketball playing career, what would your advantage be as a coach? And he says this: it is definitely her strong character and the fact that she was a great athlete herself. Therefore, she understands the game well from inside the game. She easily puts herself in an athlete's position and can give constructive advice and criticism while she's being on the sideline as a coach.
Yep. That's awesome. To add to that, you have to see a part of yourself and the athlete. I mean, you weren't, you know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
see that, you look at them from a human perspective. So the struggle is the real. I mean, when they're winning, the feeling is real. When they're losing, the feeling is real. Like coaches, let's don't forget it. We were in this position. So as an athlete, I was in this position. So I understand the all range of emotions.
Yeah.
I'm going through because I still remember the feeling of going through that as an athlete.
Absolutely. And then let's see. A couple more questions. Here's a question. So it's not very popular in the men's league in Poland to have a female coach. What does it mean to you to have a female head coach? And he says this. I have to admit that I have to admit that I've never had a woman coach or female coach. However, the gender does not matter when it comes to basketball. When I stepped on the basketball court, I simply see the coach, my coach, Coach D. How does that make you feel?
And he's my player.
Yeah.
Well, he's my player. He's I want them to know that when they are a part of the team and they already deserve my respect and the respect of the team, they can count on me on the court and outside of the court. That's what I want them to know, you know? I don't want to be the type of coach that when you see your coach on the street, you're trying to run away, not to have a conversation on the street.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had, man, that's crazy. I've had a couple where it's like you're at that coffee shop, and it's like, I even feel like, let me go back.
You run to the bushes. You jump to the bushes when you see someone. Okay, I never want to have that situation. I have actually a situation like that in my career when I'm not gonna say the team because they're gonna know.
Right.
But one of my coaches live on I live on a 10th floor, and he was living on a 15th floor. And every time I jumped to the elevator, I had a feeling that he was like going down. And I was like, let me get out of here. I was walking 10 floors down.
Man.
10 floors down, not to even ride with him on the elevator. I never want to have that kind of relationship with the players ever. I want them to feel that they can count on me in every situation. And even when they are in trouble, I want them to still be able to call me in the middle of the night and say, I F up.
Yep.
This is the situation, because on the end of the day, I want them to be safe, and I want them to be good, and I want them to be successful on the court and outside.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we've been talking, man. It's almost 2 hours. I love it. So we had a lot more to talk about on some different series that we're gonna make up and just talk about basketball and how to continue to improve the game internationally, our young boys and girls, men and women's basketball. Because I know you're a fanatic like I am.
I am. Yep.
Any kind of last closing remarks that you want to tell? We'll start off with parents. Parents of student athletes. They're young in high school or they're either in college. How can we help them continue to progress as athletes, but then people? Any kind of word, any kind of advice?
From the parents' perspective or the athlete's perspective?
From the parents' perspective.
From the to be the parents, not the coach.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's very difficult, especially that in the States, almost everyone who you know is a parent, like on some level was a coach. You know?
Yeah.
And sometimes they lose in perspective of looking at the baby, the child. They lose in a reality of how it looks like, how they look like on the court. Because they looking at the emotions, you know, they look at the emotional part. They want them to perform well. They want them to have the best opportunity. They want to have the greatest minutes. So sometimes they look it up. Okay, it's coach's fault. It's not their fault. So they looking emotionally about it. So for the parents, to support them the best way to be parents, especially that you are when you are the coach or were the coach. Because it's also very tough on the kids. I mean, they want to satisfy so much. They want to satisfy the parents so much that they forget that when they're going home, they have a parents instead of the coaches. So let the coaches be the coaches and the parents be the parents, and just parents do it naturally. They love them, they love their kids.
Yeah.
When they struggle in college, they always come to bring the, uh, cooked meal.
Yeah.
They hug. They are the best, the greatest fans ever. So they do that naturally. They don't need any advice on that part,
Awesome. I agree. I'll touch on that just a little bit. Like even when I do training, skill training, or when I would coach AAU, I think parents, how you act as a parent, you're giving your child to act as well. So if you act with discipline and you are, not screaming and not having back talk to the refs, your child's gonna kind of mimic that also and be more respectful to the coaches and to the referees. But when you're dogging referees and you're just, how fans get,
yep,
your athletes are going to see that that's okay, and that's going to cause problems for them, and that's going to cause problems with the coach. Also, if you're trying to coach from the sideline and you're splitting your child's supposed to be listening to the coach on all accounts.
Yeah, and give the respect to the good coaches and bad coaches. I think everybody had them in our career, and what I mean by bad coaches is I don't mean the knowledge, you know what I mean? Because knowledge is the one thing. I mean, you can have a very bad coaches with bad knowledge, but if you have a combination of bad coaches as a bad people and the bad knowledge, that's the worst combination. And we have them all. We have to appreciate them too, because as the coaches, the future coaches, you know what kind of coach you don't want to be. So we have to have them in their life too.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. Advice for student athletes. Excuse me. High school, college. Also, if it all fits together, even rookies, professional, first year, second year. How do they get how do they get better? What's the number one thing or a couple things that you can say to them to? Is it character that they should need to work on? Skill? What is it?
Okay. I mean, they always have to be ready, like, meaning when you are in college, you have your athletic trainers, you have your strength and conditioning staff, you have your 10 assistant coaches. I mean, school is afford to have that. So if you want to stay outside, like if you want to stay after practice and work on your game, you have a fifth coach, a sixth coach, and whatever. Everybody is available to you if you are willing to work.
Yeah.
But as a professional player, you need to do it on your own. So you need to invest the money in hiring somebody who is working on the game, helping you get better. And I'm talking about strength and conditioning coach who you trust, and somebody who is not somebody who you trust throughout your career. Yes. Not somebody who you're changing every 2 months. Because again, it's like a coaching. It's like a first coach. He or she is going to have this own philosophy. Mm-hmm. Strength and conditioning coach is also have his or her philosophy. So you have to stick to somebody who is willing to work with you throughout your career. And I think I wouldn't be as successful as I was if I wouldn't have that kind of coach, who was always who gave me so much confidence through his training that I never have a doubt that I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So have that, and nobody gonna do that. Nobody gonna do it here on a pro level because you already get paid for that. So it's your responsibility to, first of all, be ready for the season. It's called professionalism, not according to your definition, but according to your paycheck. Okay. Yeah. So be ready.
Awesome. Then lastly, any advice for other women that may not have played sports or play sports that are looking to get into the industry that is highly male populated or whatever? Maybe there's not a lot of women in their industry. How should they conduct themselves? How should they approach a job like that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's very difficult because it depends on the opportunity. I mean, some of them just get discouraged just by the fact that you don't have the opportunity. It's not that people don't want to get in the business. It's just the fact that the opportunity never comes. They get ready and they stay ready and they stay ready and they're waiting and waiting and waiting and the opportunity never comes. So sometimes it's just the fact, the discouraging comes from the fact that you don't have a lot of workplaces like that.
Yep.
But sometimes something is about intuition. Like if you feel it inside that that's your destiny, like if this is something that you are called to do, like never give up. And this is something like random to say, but I was waiting for the opportunity like that for 3 years. And actually I say it loudly. I say it to my coach, like I want to be a head coach of the men's team. And if I would say it loudly to any of the people who didn't support me, like outside, people would laugh. Like people would literally laugh because they say, there's no woman coach in the women's league. So how are you going to be a head coach of the men's team? Right? So just setting your goal, working in between, doing everything possible to be ready when the opportunity comes. And when the opportunity comes, don't think about the failure. Because if you think about failure of the position that you get in, means that you are never being ready for that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you already get the opportunity and you feel like, okay, that's my call, it's something I feel confident about, you can deal with the pressure that we were talking about today. You can deal with the fact that the people are going to look up to that and see, waiting for your mistakes because you're the first or you are the minority in the group. You can deal with that. I think that's something you need to do, and you that's your call to do in life. So
Okay.
Be courageous. Be courageous. Don't give up.
Be courageous and don't give up. Be ready. Just be the best you can.
I know.
Like, do the job, huh?
Yep. And then again, if the haters will start showing up, that means that's the best recall.
You better keep going.
I mean, like, you have to keep going. That's the time when you have to hit it even harder.
Yes, haters.
Yep. Don't give up. Like, don't respond. Just quietly and humbly do your thing.
Well, I have had a blast catching up with you and hearing your story. Yep, hearing your basketball journey and your story, and being able to share your first year being a head coach. I know many are coming. And I'm telling you, I'll show up at a game like, Ernie. I'm like,
oh my gosh, I am so, like, seriously, I'm super, super thankful for the fact that I was invited to the show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for for what you're doing. I think it's extremely helpful to the athletes, to the parents, to the other coaches, to the other administrator of the school to hear that. Like, what's important, what they're struggling, what they're missing, what we need to improve. I think it's extremely important. I think we didn't have that. And that's also a new method of mentoring. You know, sometimes you might not have that kind of like face-to-face.
Yeah.
Having somebody who actually mentions so many subjects and inviting so many people through different perspectives, I think it's also a part of the mentoring. It's a mother mentoring. Okay. But on the end,
what's up?
I have a challenge for you. I have to make my team and my place famous. So please pronounce the following names on my team.
Oh, man.
I picked the most difficult one. I'm not going to mention the entire team, but okay.
I got to repeat it.
With the MVP of the season, Krzysztof Martuzalski.
Krzysztof Martuzalski.
Okay, we got it. Check. Okay.
Check. Okay.
Łukasz Gruszczyński.
Łukasz Gruszczyński.
Okay, got it. Oh my gosh. I go from the hardest to the. Okay, I got it.
All right, let's go.
Maciej Menesiak.
Maciej Menesiak.
Maciej Menesiak.
Maciej Menesiak.
Got it. Are you Polish?
No.
Are you mixed?
I might be.
Okay.
I might be.
That makes sense. Okay. Let's go. Kuba Stankowski.
Kubas Dankowski. I messed up the last one.
Yep. Okay. Stankowski.
Stankowski. Dang.
Really?
Well, let me see. Wait, let me hear.
How you say Martuzalski? You did say Stankowski.
Say one more time.
One more try, and then I'm gonna like either buzz or you check. I'm gonna say check. Come on.
Okay.
Stankowski.
Stankowski.
Okay, check. Okay. Pavel Pampuch.
Pavel Pampuch.
Get it? Okay, check.
It's a little bit at the end. You got to get a little bit at the end.
Okay. And one more, the hardest part.
Daria Mieloszynska.
How do you say Mieloszynski? Ska.
Mieloszynska.
Okay. It's SKI is the man. SKA is a female. But since I'm in the men's league, I can be Mieloszynski too.
That's cool. I didn't know that. Gotcha.
Okay. Okay, you passed the challenge.
I like that.
I told you. Be ready. Next time you're gonna invite me. I'm gonna teach you some Polish.
Some not full sentences, some words.
No, full sentences. Like
I knew it. Okay, I'm down.
Like DD este super.
Some super.
Good job. Check.
Yeah, I need to get another language.
Yeah, but I think you might be mixed. So we need to figure it out. You need to ask your mom. Like
I'm asking Polish. I know.
Yeah, you did pretty good for the challenge, and I'm actually very surprised about the fact that you mentioned the MVP, Krzysztof Martuzalski, which was the hardest, I think, last name on our team. Like it was perfectly. So congrats on.
Appreciate it. Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing great in my challenge, but thank you again for inviting me, and future hoopers, ballers, good luck. Stay courageous, stay patient. Be good, work hard. Don't pick the role for yourself.
Man, that's a good.
Be disciplined. Be disciplined.
Yep.
Be disciplined. Follow the coach's philosophy. Add the bad coaches in the process of your career, and think that the bad time will pass. Just go through it. Allow the parents to be the parents, not the coaches. Be grateful and enjoy 5 minutes of your life, which is called basketball career. The best 5 minutes, but still 5 minutes.
Gotcha.
Welcome. Okay. Hold on. You can see it.
Got the shirt.
Get the shirt.
E-hoops. And we out.
Okay. Thank you so much.